That's all right. I don't want to see you guys next year, my meeting. Oh, no. She's just making sure. Okay.
Yeah, your sister disclaimer, I have to tell you that you are being recorded. Give you another minute to settle in here. Make sure nobody else is coming.
Troy, do you need a tripod?
You got one in your pocket?
I've got one in the car.
That camera. Okay. We've got a lot to cover and only a little bit of time, so we'll get started. Just quick little introductions. I know the vast majority of you in the room, but there's a couple I don't. So my introduction is, my name is Troy Price. I am very proud to serve as the Executive Director for the Snowbasin Sports Education Foundation, the Snowbasin Ski Team. And this is just finished my third month, and the fact is a lot of that's been organizing the staff, and I'm very, very proud of the staff we have in place and moving of different staff members to different positions, really utilizing where they have the most energy and the most strengths, as well as what gives them the most joy. So really excited about the work environment that we're creating for our coaches, which will clearly spill into the athlete's experience and hopefully your experience as parents within our organization. Tonight you'll get a chance to hear from some of the coaching staff. We've got a PowerPoint to walk through, but my personal goal is to get to know you better and to really make sure that we have an opportunity for question and answers, a little bit of dialogue. And so to start that off with, I want to make a couple main introductions, and then I want to hear from you. So speaking tonight will be our Alpine Program Director and head U14 coach, Craig Hosser. And then Tracy Prue, our team manager. Everybody knows Tracy, or you better. And then also I want to make an introduction about Kyle Allman. He's our head U16 coach, and is stepping up from our South Series group and alumni of the program. And then Heather Dumas is stepping in as the U14 coach this year, really rounding us out and bringing a lot of skill set with Heather in regards to the mental training. And we plan to really ramp up this year. Okay, so with that, if you guys will walk around the room a little, or move around the room a little bit as to your name, your child, and for me it'd be helpful to know how long you've been part of the program. Paul, you want to start us off?
I'm Paul Hertzberg, and I'm father to the man-child here. Tanner, who's first year U18, and he's been in the program since he was 6.
That was 2 years ago?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, I get to be a parent too. I'm also a parent. I am Tony's parent. And we have been on the team fifth season.
Else we'll go over Ray.
It's Bernd Laskewitz, Emma's dad, yeah, so, and Emma's U14 first year and second year then on the team.
And a quick story I heard the other day about Emma was that she was the athlete that moved the fastest through the ranks. Like from the Devo to Devo Plus to the Alpine program.
Yes.
All within the first season, is that?
Yes, that was all
And then she
this
skied
year.
on Scotty skis at the Super G camp, which is that awesome.
All right. We're hoping that Emma has paved the way for others to do exactly the same. It's really important to me that athletes are placed in the right program and that we have that upward mobility. Okay, in the back row there, we got Rocky.
I'm Rocky. I've been with the team for close to a decade, and this is my daughter Zoe. She is a first year U16, This is my son Mason, and he is a first year U14.
I'm with them. I'm the mom. So I'm Tara. With them, they've raced since they were 6. So your turn.
Oh, next.
No, I think it's important. So
Oh, is it?
TJ is here as a visitor.
I'm a fly on the wall today. So I am the team manager for Devo this season, and I was coach last year. And Troy let me be the fly on the wall to hear what goes on with the other levels.
And that's all an effort to make sure that our 3 departments within the organization, from our Devo, Alpine, and Freeride, all start to have that continuity with one another, know what each other's up to, and really support one another. And with that, introduce Winter Make Pride there in the back.
I'm kind of like TJ's fly on the wall, but I'm the Freeride program director this year, and here to really say hi.
TJ, Winter, thanks for coming tonight, for sure.
I'm Julie Pinchak. I have a first year U16. How old? How am I that old already? Not how is she that old. How am I that old? I blame Bailey. She was the Devo coach that led in this race, and here we are that many years later. So I don't know how many years that is. She was young. She's not young anymore.
6 or 7 years?
Yes. And I'm now down to 1 kid on the ski team because because my older kid decided if she was going to ski with a bunch of kids, she'd rather get paid, so she's a ski instructor.
David Dibble, I'm Ansley's dad. I've been here 10-ish years or so.
I'm Tanya Barker, my husband Brandon. We have Haley and Kalea, first year U16, first year U14. Technically we have a YSL too, her meeting's not. And it'll be our 2nd year with Snowbasin, but they've both been racing. This will be their 6th year racing.
I'm Carla Howell. I'm Aloysius Bond. This is our 3rd year in Snowbasin, and he's 2nd year U14.
I'm Katie Madden. I have McKinley. She's a 2nd year U14. It's our 2nd year at Snowbasin, and race 7 for a little while.
She's been awesome at camp and dry line.
I'm Renee Baker, also known as Peekaboo's mom, and I also have Peekaboo is his 2nd year, 14, and my son Collier is in 12 now. It's hard to keep track, and they've been up through the Devo program.
All the Devos fault.
What's that?
They said you got skipped.
Oh.
I want to know who you are.
I'm Brandon Barker. Yeah, with this group right here. Happy to be here.
Our latest guest is.
We're doing introductions.
I'm Dave.
What's that? Are you back in the fold?
My kids are back. Yeah.
Otherwise known as Peekaboo's dad.
Sorry. Well, you guys, it was part of my strategy to bring this group in first, because you guys have been loyal to the program for a long time. You bring a lot of knowledge and expertise to the program, and I really strongly encourage your input as to what the program's up to, what we can do better. And as we roll through our other parent meetings, we have our YSL and South Series meeting on Friday, and a free ride next week after, and then leaving the Devo program towards the end of the month, where we have a lot of new families. We've experienced a lot of changeover with the Devo program, starting with our director position, but also different staff members and a lot of new families in that program. It is by far our biggest word of mouth is the biggest piece of business for us. It's not marketing, it's either the parents talking about it or the kids skiing that draws attention to our program. So ask ambassadors and ask the group that has the most experience with our organization. It's really important that we rely on you to help us spread that word and create that new business to bring up that pipeline. So I'm going to dive into the PowerPoint here, and then we'll get going on a few other items. So our agenda tonight is to cover a ton of information. I promise I'll be brief in areas that I need to But the goal is to leave you informed and excited for the season. You get a chance to meet some of our coaches, you get a chance to hear from Craig directly, and then we really encourage your engagement and dialogue through the meet. Nice review of our mission statement is to create an environment and pathway for local youth to be able to reach their individual potential as athletes, students, and contributing members of the greater community throughout winter sports participation. What that means to me is this is a great excuse to use the sport of skiing to create good humans. Yeah. It is important that I note that the Snowbasin Sports Education Foundation is a nonprofit identity with the IRS, and that all we're trying to do is come out even after we're doing everything we're doing. Team values. This is a big push of mine over the last couple months. We started with our orientation camp out at Emerson Cove, and it's developing relationships where we're connecting, behaving, and interacting positively with others. Our commitment, where we're dedicating the time and energy to self-improvement. Integrity, where we're doing the right thing for the right reasons. And because we're an athletic program, we're going to base ourselves on performance, and that we're achieving goals and holding ourselves accountable for our intensity and deliberate practice. For team pride, this is one that's of personal importance to me. I was a member of the Snowbasin program at the ages of a long time ago. It was been from the age of 8 to 18 that I was around the program. And so team pride, part of that is celebrating our past. I plan to reach out to a lot of members that I competed with and were friends with at the time, bring them back into the fold of the program as we create our first alumni event later this spring. And then planning for the future. Snowbasin Resort's got a lot of things in their strategic planning, and we need to be there matching and growing alongside of the resort. Lastly, there is our growth mindset, that we're nurturing the resilience and perseverance, persistence, making sure that we recognize that ski racing is a very challenging sport, and it takes those 10 years to actually do something with it. This is a good slide for me. It's why Snowbasin Ski Team. It's coaches who care. It's that low athlete ratio. We've got a world-class resort in our backyard. We're tied in with the community, but yet we create our own community. One thing that's been very obvious to me is the fact that our team is spread out from Logan to Salt Lake to Morgan County. And most kids, by show of hands, how many of your children go to school with at least 3 Snowbasin Ski Team teammates? That's my point. So not only is our program spread out through the community, but again, I know that there's lots of like sleepovers and hangouts and mountain bike riding, and they're trying to connect with each other even though they live on completely opposite sides of town or different counties. And so I really appreciate the fact that we make that effort. You'll hear a little bit more tonight about our long-term development plan on the athlete side of things, as well as what we're looking for in the future with the program or organization. And then we create that positive learning environment all the way through our pipeline. It's a great picture there of Coach Scotty and Greg. And I want to go back to that first line there that says coaches who care. And I'm going to try to hold you to this tonight, or hold myself accountable. It is a statement that I live by when I coach athletes, is they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so even though I've been involved in this business for 26 years as a coach, and I could stand on the side of the hill and talk for 26 years, it's no fun, right? Let's go. We've gone through the coaching staff, support staff of myself and Tracy, always there to back up our staff and be there as your support system as well. Nice little picture there of McKinley and Peekaboo the other day at Dryland. This slide just simply covers who's on the roster, who is our community for the U14s. And then there's a breakout between first year and second year because within the Intermountain Division, there's a lot of separation in their programming. What's their schedule look like? What opportunities do they have? It's strictly based on their year of birth. One thing I'm very proud of is there's been some talk that Tessa and Finn Barcode were going to be part of the South Series team again. We got confirmation today that that's not the case. They're going to be part of this community. With that short notice, they weren't able to come tonight, but I'm really excited to have them as part of this group. It's where they belong. For the U16s and Tanner, we've got 6 athletes.
There's a whole team.
Last year the roster was Tanner. Right?
Tanner has another boy this
So
year.
there's, I can guarantee you, I will bet my house on this statement. There is not a program in the country that experienced 600% growth in their U16. So, that was my way of saying thanks for your commitment.
Tanner's grateful to have teammates. Ish.
Okay. Shifting gears a little bit here, long-term athlete development plan, which is kind of funny because I just barely finished this webinar with US Skiing about long-term athlete development, and I was like, well, there's a few slides in my presentation. Basics to this is, starting with our Devo Mini program, or even before that, when kids are toddlers and they're running around, they're crawling around. It's being active, that active start, so they have some financial or some physical literacy, and then building those fundamentals in youth programs. But then learning to train is a step where I think really fits in with our South Series or our intro to freeride, is that they're learning how to be an athlete. They're learning how to train, looking for that personal development. And then as they go up from there, it just starts to span out, where ultimately that goal is as they become an adult, that they're an active adult and to enjoying the outdoors, enjoying skiing. Skiing is a lifetime sport, and as coach and executive director, I want to make sure that that's an overall focus for us, is that we're creating that passion where they want to be that ski instructor that's earning a paycheck, or they want to have my job someday. Like, stay involved in the sport is a big component of what we're doing. The other, the last couple of things there, I mentioned the active for life, but even that train to win and finding that competitive spirit is part of our plan. Here's a quick little diagram as to what our stages are through development. This again is pulled off of the American teaching system from US Ski Team. And it's all the way from our Devo Minis up through the U16s. You'll see a couple other slides, but it's the breakdown of their training age, how long they've been part of the sport, what level of participation is recommended. So we're looking at like 3 and 4 days a week for that South Series group versus 4 to 5 days a week for U14s and U16s as well. They're skiing, U14 should be skiing about 100 days a year, and then finding that mix between free skiing and gate training at that 30 to 50% range. So they're free skiing a lot more than people think. Competition period, number of starts, that start to athlete ratio or start to training ratio. So here's our plan for the U14s. Craig will be tracking this through the year, but it's really broken into these 5 categories of directed drills. So they're out there with their coach, they're working on some of their skill development. But then slalom training, obviously that includes both technique and tactics, GS, Super G, and then directed all-mountain skiing, so they're out there free skiing. For the last few years, I've been using the term directed all-mountain skiing when it comes to Alpine racers, because when you say free skiing, those that haven't built a true passion for the sport think that it means a day off. Or I've even heard parents say, free, I paid a lot more than free to do this, right? So it's not freedom skiing is another term that I've used, but it's really about getting out there with your coaches And I can speak on behalf of Craig and Kyle and Heather, like they love to go out and powder ski and rip through the trees and explore the type of terrain. And we want to create that opportunity, as I mentioned before, of breaking down some of those barriers between our Alpine and freeride. Is that when our Alpine program's out there free skiing, that they can connect with some of our freeride coaches or freeride groups and find new terrain. And those guys are out there all the time. Like, it's almost like hot lava when they touch the grooms. They gotta get off piste. And so they're exploring, they're finding pieces of the terrain that maybe some of our Alpine athletes haven't been exposed to yet. So finding that bridge to where they can come together is going to create a better team. And then lastly there is that ratio of race days to training. We've got to make sure that we're targeting the right races that are going to produce the right outcome that we're after. We're not simply race to race, we're racing with a purpose, and we're making sure that we're spending that valuable time in other areas such as training or directed on that skiing. Our team culture, as it states it on the top line, doesn't matter if it's my culture or Craig's culture, it has to be our culture as an entire team, where we truly believe in kindness, we believe in perseverance, and we believe in commitment. Periodization is part of our long-term athlete development. You can see these 4 phases throughout our periodization. It starts with conditioning that we're heavily involved in right now. I'm definitely a believer of multi-sport development. So the kids that are in soccer or softball or lacrosse, mountain biking, all of those things are great for their athletic development in the long term. As soon as they're done, we want to see them at dryland so that we can continue to work on that strength and agility that's really directed towards skiing. And then we're right around the corner of our prep period where we start with our fall camps, and we'll get into more of that later. And then that early season directed skiing where we're starting to really zero in on the skill development before we get into gates. We're working on that athletic stance, the edging, the balance, all those basic skills to where when we are in the gates, we can rapidly improve instead of develop bad habits because we're out of position. And also, that early season gives the coaches an opportunity to make sure the athlete's equipment and their setup is correct. Any of the tweaks that we can make within their equipment to make the athlete successful. That early season training, those fall camps are a perfect opportunity for us to do that. So when they get into middle of December or early January, we get into that competition phase, that it's just an ongoing training where they're making small 1% gains through the year. But we can make 5–10% jumps in the fall if we're doing things right with our camps and early season drills. Ultimately, we're trying to peak our performance in late March, early April, where there's not only our championship events, but as kids get older, the spring series are really good opportunities to project yourself into the next season. And then we move into our fundamental camps, which is in June. And then as athletes go up the pipeline, there's even regional camps in July. Those are really an opportunity for the athletes to step back and have that skill acquisition to where they're leapfrogging or breaking down some of those barriers that have held them back through the prior season. And we are already booked for our June camp there if you want to throw those dates in your calendar. June 4 to 11. Okay, a little more detail on fall camps. You've seen both those announcements for our Loveland, Colorado camp and the Sun Valley camp. We've asked that your intent for those comes back tomorrow, right? I think so. And then Sun Valley's maybe another week later because it's another week in the schedule. The Colorado camp is one it's going to be new to our program. They haven't gone over before. I've personally gone over there multiple times, and it's highly productive. It's great to be on snow early. The kids are usually itching to go. Colorado tends to open mid to late October, and Loveland and Copper are usually the first two. And so that opportunity to be at Loveland, usually you're surrounded by programs like CU and DU, and US Ski Team development, like they're out there and about, so it's a great exposure for young athletes to get that opportunity. But just as much as anything else, it's that early season time between athlete and coach where they can connect on tuning, they can make sure that they're set up for video review, they can look through their goals, they can establish that athlete-coach relationship. With all that said, if our enrollment isn't at least 5 athletes, then it's just not cost feasible for the program to go. And so as those intents come in from you, we'll analyze that. And if we're not able to do Colorado this year, we'll let you know. But I feel very confident there's already been enough interest in the Sun Valley camp that that's 100%. We're going there. The one thing that was nice about some negotiations I had with the director at Sun Valley and their general manager was an opportunity for us not to be obligated to stay at Sun Valley Lodge. We have the opportunity to stay off-site, which could potentially save money. I did all the math behind it. The cheapest way for your athlete to go to Sun Valley is that you stay in your home and your athlete goes to Sun Valley. That's the cheapest way. But I know we all enjoy going to Sun Valley, so if you go, it would be cheaper to stay off-site. And then that next option would be to stay with your child at the Sun Valley Lodge. But ultimately, the most efficient way to do it, and even in my viewpoint, the most productive environment for the athlete, is to go with their team, with that's traveling, rooming with a teammate, and really being surrounded by the coaches 24/7.
Troy?
Yep.
So the lodge is still an option. That's Ansley's big deal. She loves staying at the lodge.
With her teammates.
With her teammates. Is that where the team's going to be staying? Are you saying that, you can stay off-site?
The coaching staff will be at the lodge with the athletes.
That's a big deal. They like to pretend like they're royalty up there.
Because the meals are included if you stay at the lodge, and it's just a complete.
Those little chocolates they leave on your pillow every day.
Well, you remember Callum. Callum got sick and stayed in his robe and put slippers on the first day. Stayed out on the balcony, and then he got better.
Miraculously.
One year I had an athlete raid the maid cart with all the chocolates. He didn't make it on the next day.
And if you're still in negotiations with them, I would love to be interested to see if they would give a discount for employees, because you have 2 first year U16s that are actually Snowbasin employees. So Sun Valley Snowbasin partnership.
Troy, last year last year I think that they did for the parents.
Ooh.
I don't know that they did for the parents that were Snowbasin Resort.
I don't think I got that discount.
Because
no,
most of the kids were employees.
Yeah, because the kids,
Ansley and Anissa
are actual employees.
Okay,
Oh yeah, now that they are, yeah.
The one area, and I want to provide clarity here, is that the ski resort is not open for skiing. They just open for us at 5 days prior to their official opening on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
And so anybody that has a different avenue for a pass, whether you're an employee or a dependent or those kind of deals, all that goes out the window because they're not officially open for business. But when it comes to the lodging, I think there's a possibility there should be some discount opportunity.
And even outside of the athletes, because they'll obviously be in ski season at that point, they both have parents that are still employees of Snowbasin.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check on that.
Okay. Any questions about the Colorado camp? Has anybody skied Loveland before?
Where do you stay?
In Silverthorne. What do you question about Loveland?
No, she's
Oh, you
ski
Loveland.
yeah.
You're answering.
I love Loveland.
Loveland happens to be my mom's maiden name, so she tells me I have to go to Loveland every year. Okay, moving on. If you didn't grab one already, maybe Tracy or Bennett, you guys mind? Or Heather, anyway. There's a packet there that includes our race schedule, so we'll get into that. Just so we're clear on terminology, the U14 series can also be known as the Intermountain Junior Cup. And then the U16 series can be known as the Intermountain Cup. Luckily, the Open Series only has one name. And then with FIS racing, it's controlled at the regional level with Western Region. As I mentioned earlier, the U14s are directed by their year of birth. And then for FIS races, they're all by invite, and they're using their national rankings to earn that invitation. On the handouts that you received, I believe it's the second page I put in there. Yep, the second page is a breakdown of races per age category. That's going to apply to everybody except Tanner. Tanner's got this special schedule for him. And
I think we need like shirts or something.
And that's very common at Tanner's level, that the race schedule is individually planned for the athlete, because they're getting into different, even if we had 10 Tanners on the team, we would probably have 8 different race plans because of races that they get into. It's just that it's a little different beast when it comes to that. Okay, other special events and races. For the first year U14s, they're invited to the Intermountain Speed Camp. That'll take place at Soldier Mountain. Soldier Mountain. And that's late January. You'll see that on the schedule. Just a reminder, that is only first year U14s, so they have to be born in 2011. Spring Fling is another fun event that kind of covers a few different age classes. It's for all the first year 14s. It can be for athletes older, but they have to opt between the Spring Series at Grand Targhee and the Snow Cup Series at Snowbird. 9 times out of 10, we want athletes going to the Snow Cup races so that they're improving their national rank and moving up the pipeline. Western Region hosts their own speed camp. They actually do one for U14s and U16s. The dates that I've provided there, the U14 camp. And then Whistler Cup is an international children's race up in Canada, and that is held just for the top 6 per gender out of the Western U14 champs. So it's a very elite group that goes there. I've had the opportunity to be the head coach for that project 3 different times. And then the last one there is the summer camp. So if your athlete performs well at their regional championships, whether it's 14s or 16s, then there's some regional camp opportunities in July at Mount Hood. As we finish up championships, I'm happy to reach out to any family that pertains to. I like to say those early on so that we match our June calendar around some possibilities, because we don't want athletes to have to choose our camp or a regional camp. We want them to be able to do both. But as you're looking at maybe some commercial camps that are outside of our programming, that you consider if the region is doing anything at the same time. Because that regional camp will provide an environment to where they're going to be racing or training with that same group as they get older. And so there's an opportunity to establish some of those relationships early on. Okay, championship races. We've got quite a few champs. The goal for the vast majority is that tri-divisionals. That's going to be at Big Sky this year, as well as Bridger Bowl. It's actually split between the tech races and the Super G race. And then U14 regionals, this is going to be at Grand Targhee, so part of the Intermountain Division still. And then the U16s are up in Alaska at Alaska Ski Resort. And then the Western Junior champs are, where are they?
I can't remember.
Schweitzer ringing a bell? Yeah. When I was putting this together, I was in a whole different place. I didn't get to that. But we're hoping that Tanner qualifies for his regional championship event as well. And then at the bottom of the screen there, you'll see that the rankings and how athletes qualify for these different championship events that we're talking about. It's for the U14s, it's World Cup points earned by run. So if they have a great first run and then the second run they straddle or they blow out, it doesn't matter, that first run will still count. They won't get their race result because the race result is combined of the 2 runs. So it certainly will affect awards and national points, but championship points are totally different. So the championship points are known as World Cup points. And for U14, that's going to be per run. U16s will still use a 2-run combined. And then for U18s, it's strictly off their national points, so they don't earn World Cup points. One is on the next slide. Yep. So this is a real quick snapshot of national points. They're also known as USSA points or seed points. The simple answer is the faster you ski, the lower your points will become.
As long as you finish.
As long as you cross the finish line. That's a good point. They're updated every 2 weeks, not instantly. They're not live timing updates. It's every 2 weeks the database gets updated. And then at the U14 events, so our U14 qualifiers that are Jackson, McCall, and Park City, all 3 of those U14 qualifiers will still use a random start list. So even though the U14s are earning some national rankings, they don't come into play as to where they're going to start. Where they'll first see that is at the open races, where their national points will dictate their start position at the race. And then I asked the question if you want to know more. So this is just my little sample. By a show of hands, who's interested in learning more about our national points? Okay, couple. My thought process behind that was maybe one of the Sunday mornings when the athletes are out enjoying the ice, is I can grab that little accomplishment they have and put together a quick little, it is like 3rd grade math. If you can add and divide, you can figure out national points.
Oh, then I'm interested.
Yeah.
Past 4th grade, I'm in trouble. Public school kid.
Okay, shifting gears a little bit here. We've got, so I've been filling this one out. I don't have a solid position on it because I really want to lean on you as the experienced members of the program and what fits your personal needs. I've come from a program with Romark the last 13 years where it was mandatory team travel, and it worked. It worked extremely well, and the fact that athlete-coach developed that real strong bond. Parents a lot of times stayed at the same hotel. We arranged for the second night of the event to be go with your parents for dinner night, and so there was still that interaction. There was usually the first night was like a parent-parent dinner, where they would just go socialize with each other, and so it worked. Whether that's going to work in our community and environment, I'm not going to force that upon our community. I want to make sure we're doing what fits best. So it's really the option between team travel, split of some are with their parents and some are with their coaches, or the coaches are on their own and all the athletes are self-sufficient. We can also look at the different options between staying at hotels or like VRBO type rentals. For some of our like U16 races, or if it's a split gender event like up in McCall, like some of those things kind of make a lot of sense to me to have this cool little nucleus of a rental property. As long as we find the right one, we know who's going, and everybody has the right room layout, and the coaches can help with preparing meals and such. So that one's kind of got some potential in my mind. The hotels obviously give us the most flexibility. Cost-wise, I found that they're very similar between traveling to hotels versus vacation rentals, so there's not a huge cost savings either way. And then some of the standards is I've learned for the Snowbasin program is in Jackson, Mountain Modern is kind of a go-to. Sun Valley, I've got a great relationship at Wood River Inn. It's actually in Haley, so it's not right in Sun Valley, it's like 20 minutes out, but it's like half the price. It's still a great place. There's lots of their restaurants, like I've really seen the town of Haley develop over the last few years, so we've always, it's the Romark program, we've always stayed there, and it's kept the athletes out of trouble because they're a little bit further away from everybody else. And then in McCall, just last year, Craig and Matt Brown from Romark partnered up and stayed at the Best Western, and that worked out well. And then this is more of a question, but local races, if you're going to an event at Snowbird or Park City, by show of hands, who gets a hotel for those type of races? Are you guys doing it?
Sundance, maybe, but Park
Sundance.
City's closed.
Yeah. What I find is, and even with my history of Snowbasin, is, you know, like Snow Cup, that's a 4-day event. Eric Hayes used to always be at Park City, now it's been at Jackson for a while. But when it's 4 days of going back and forth, that gets kind of old. And so they maybe stay a day or two down there to break it up. But, okay, so I'm going to pause. I really want to, it's really important that Craig and I hear from you as to what you want to see happen, and then we can make the determination if we can make that happen.
I have always appreciated the opportunity for split travel.
Mhm.
I think there are times when team travel, if parents are still going to go, that does increase the price significantly for a family, because you're paying for your athlete's portion in that room plus your own room. So I think the requirement of team travel sometimes drives up the cost of an already super expensive sport. I, although, have always appreciated the split, because there are times where he has been the surrogate father for my child.
Mine too.
Do you, in that situation, do you find that you stay at the same hotel?
Those are situations where I have not gone.
When it's split.
So that would be
When it's split, you
Split is
Well,
fine.
but other families.
We don't stay the same one, we stay close. So
But other families then, they have gone, so that, when I say split, when I hear split, I hear families get to do what they want. There is some team travel, and there is some option for the athlete to stay with their parents.
I always stayed offside. I never stayed with the team until last year, and Ansley really enjoyed being in that terrible mountain, modern, loud, noisy ski team, kid banging motel. But she loved it. She had a great time with it. And I got abandoned into the room, but she had so much fun with all the kids in that group environment as opposed to me being offside somewhere else.
Yeah, when we go split, we always stay at the same location, just because it makes sense, and you're still part of the group, but like, we want to go too, you know, but, yeah.
we just haven't seen
But
it
it's
since.
that cost savings because the athletes can stay in the same room.
Yes, that's a good part
I think
too.
as long as you're close enough where you can be there for the meetings and they can, I know you're not kind of swimming, but swimming together.
Like last year, for example, I couldn't be at the Sean Nurse Snow King, and another parent couldn't either, and so Tanner and Jace wound up sharing a room. Originally he was going to be staying with Craig, but that kind of fell into place. But they rode up with the Pinchaks and with Ansley and Anissa, so it was nice to have that surrogate family to kind of ride herd and help out, because, you know, Craig was, you know, really busy herding all those cats and taking care of them. So it was kind of nice for that, but then I'll take my vacations when there's races because I want to go and watch. So it's kind of nice for those things. And if I can help out, you know, as far as helping the team and stuff, that's kind of nice to have an option too. So I think a split is, there's times, I got to see the Rollmark act a little bit last year too. So, you know, I think there's times when that's just absolutely awesome. And there's times when the split might work.
Okay.
I think if we can find the right rental properties too, we can like kill two birds with one stone, because it's the camaraderie, it's the meals together. You know, the TV up in Tarkey is always a great place to sell some rental property, but you have that community meal and stuff. So I imagine Silver probably already snatched it up because that was where we used to be.
That's the last time you stayed at the TV.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, it's pretty run down.
Oh, damn. Remind me how old I am, Troy. Come on now.
I wouldn't want to be
That'd
there.
be fond memory.
Okay.
It's 5 minutes ago.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is that you guys appreciate the opportunity to have team travel available when you need it. But the option to have split, meaning that if you're going to the event, that you would like to share the room with your child, but still be at the same location, which I think is exactly what Craig's desire is, because when we want to throw out a quick team snap of like, hey, I just got back from the coaches meeting, there's a few changes for tomorrow, I'd like to meet all the athletes in the lobby for a 15-minute powwow, like everybody can be there almost instantly, right? Versus oh, I'm sorry, I'm out to dinner with my family, or we're visiting such and such, or blah, 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 right? Like, we want that close-knit community that can react quickly and stay connected.
But we have a job to do. We're not on vacation. These kids are
So
there for a
like
purpose.
tuning, video review, goal setting, you know, maybe that athlete had a tough day and they're looking back through their journals as to what they're working on and bringing that back up so that they're prepared for the next day. And so that tight community. So with that, I think the best course of action is I'll develop an intent to participate form for our race schedule and really dial in those questions as to, I'm going to go to this event, but I plan to get my own room with my athlete, or I plan to send my athlete with the coaches for this event because I'm not able to go. And with that knowledge, I can start negotiating with hotels and be like, okay, I need a block of 10 rooms. And I'll book your room in that regard of like, okay, I know I'm going to book this room with the athlete and the parents staying in that room and know exactly how many rooms we need. It's an entire program.
That was actually a good question of mine is, do we have a discount code for Mountain Modern yet? So we can start booking those. It looks like you're going to pay that way.
Yeah, I think we have more power if we do it as a group.
I think you could set it up like the same environment as your camps, where it's, you know, you're here as an athlete, you're part of this group. You may be sleeping in this bed in this room over here, but your obligation is to be part of this.
And that's how it worked like last year, is that the parents might have been there, but the kids often, like last year, Tanner and the U14s, they went to dinner as a group, just like our kids would go to dinner as a group without the coaches usually. And the parents would go eat together, and that way it kind of gave, but then, you know, they're back to work on skis or doing whatever.
And, you know, part of my calling to these hotels, I'm looking for three things. I'm looking for a place that we can conduct team meetings and study hall if the kids need it. And then the second thing is that they have good Wi-Fi. And the third is that they have a continental breakfast that we can reduce some cost and grab a little something for you out there. So if the hotel option doesn't have those three available to us, I'll keep looking for another spot. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Craig to cover a few slides. We're going to stop about halfway through Craig's presentation to play a game. So keep that in mind.
Mandatory pod, David.
Silence.
Greetings, everyone. So when it comes to athlete expectations, one of the things that the obvious is we're going to be prepared, we're going to be ready, we're going to show up, we want to learn and get the information so we can travel together, listen, follow directions. Along the way, it's important that athletes know from the parents and the coaching staff that they can set personal goals, and so that you, as an athlete, can be accountable for all the things that you can do, right? The tuning, the nutrition, getting the rest you need. The coaching staff will guide you through the mental training, guide you through the physical training, but it's your part to do that on your own. So, you know, when parent encouragement and the athletes being able to step up to that, that'll be great.
Yep, you good? We gotta go back one quick.
So athlete behavior, you know, we're going to do the things that where we follow the resort policies. We're going to be respectful to the terrain we're using. One of the things that happened yesterday after our dryland trek hike that I thought was pretty fascinating was we did our hike. We came back. We had about 10 minutes before the pickup, and right when we left, there was a cup on the grass, and I picked it up and I recommended that the athletes leave it better than they find it. And that's one of my big things as we go out as athletes and we're in places where we're in hotel rooms and we're in conference rooms and we're going to line the chairs back up, we're going to pick up a little bit of trash along the way, and we're going to make the places that we go better than we found them. So I have a pretty strong feeling about that, and I think we're great human beings by doing that and teaching that. So being a value adder, to me, that is those kind of things. And we are in a sport that's very privileged, and if you cannot behave by these standards, then that privilege will be pulled. So expectations from staff, we are going to lead by example. You know, we're going to be professional, we're going to be on time. We want to create an environment where it's safe to learn. The athletes know that we care about them and that we want to give information that gives them the best chance to be successful. We, I think, as members of the team get to be ambassadors for the sponsors and people who give us opportunity to do the sport at a reduced cost. So, I mean, to me, that's Snowbasin, that's Nordic Valley, and all of our sponsors being mindful of their support. Parents, you know, the support from you is helpful. Letting the coaches do their job. You are definitely a part of the success of the entire community, and I like to think that if you can make a contribution that can be beneficial to the team, you know, sometimes it's stepping up as a rep, or, you know, shoveling coats or helping out on the fly. Lots of moving parts happen, and sometimes you don't get to see them ahead of time. So just as a parent, if you can be aware of the entire situation and where you get a chance to lend a hand, you can. So this is super important as far as feedback goes. And, you know, we can have all kinds of messaging and we can have all kinds of timing, but in the world that we want to work within the system this year, the upper right corner is the main place that we want to get to, is where we can finally get to the place where we've got the right message and the right time to have success. You know, I think we've all had a chance to hear things that maybe wasn't the right timing, and we get a little bit of resistance and a little more pushback. So I believe there's a game here.
Yep, this is our chance to pause, but I need 4 volunteers.
Don't make me pick you.
I see one hand.
Yeah, you over there on the end. All right.
Zoe?
All right, Mason's in.
Haley, I see 4, yeah? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4.
2 markers and 2 cross.
Nice.
The good news is you guys are going to get a hat. Whoa. Okay, you're going to come out and follow it with me though. Okay. This will only take 1 minute. We'll be right back.
Go with it, Zoe.
Like I was the last one. She was how tall she
Alright, so the game that we're going to play with our 4 victims is the power of feedback, and how as coaches and parents we can play a very significant role in how athletes feel about themselves and the progression that they make. Okay, so as Craig alluded to on the slide, we're going for that top right corner of right message, right time. But we can really be a disaster if we're on the bottom left there of the wrong message at the wrong time. And so with the 4 athletes, I'm going to try to capture all 4 of these corners. And these are examples that I've seen in our sport, or I have to admit I went to Ariana's football game on last Saturday, and to say the word appalled would probably be pretty fair. Like, I've gone through a lot of coach training, I've trained a lot of coaches, and I have to pay respect that her football coaches are volunteers. They're not pros by any means. They're just doing what they can. But the negativity and this humiliation for, like, these are 5th graders, right? There was no skill development that was happening. There was no reinforcement of a positive behavior. There was none of the things that I think are of value in youth sport. There was, maybe there was some grit and some perseverance and toughness going on, but it was through failure that was reinforced upon them. It wasn't failure guided to learning and discovery. It was pretty harsh, and I would see kids leaving sports pretty early if that's all they knew, right? And one of the very first slides was coaches who care, and it really starts with how we deliver feedback. But I want to put that responsibility on you as parents too, because one of the studies that's out there is when they surveyed kids between the age of 9 and 12, if you'd rather go home from a competition with your parent or your grandparent, 86% said grandparents. So think about the feedback and the dialogue that you're having with your child. One last quick story then, before I grab these guys, before they get restless, is this is about 6 or 7 years ago. I shared an article with a group of Romart families, and it was this message of like, what should you say to your child after a ski race? Because a lot of parents didn't go through ski racing themselves. They're a little lost. Their kid is frustrated to the 10th degree. I haven't finished the slalom in 3 months. This sport sucks. I'm done. Blah, 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 right? And you don't know what to say. And so I counseled these parents. 2 of them were chefs and amazing cooks. And so I said, just ask them what they want to eat for dinner. And so they made up these t-shirts. And they said, what do you want for dinner? Coach Troy. And so they went the whole season, and they're like, this has been the best season yet. Because I don't have to wonder what to say, or how to comfort them, or tell them, oh, you'll get it next time, or it's okay. Like, what do you want for dinner?
They're bargaining.
So he's always blindfolded.
Well, you can walk.
First on donkey. Stand right here facing the screen.
I'm facing the screen.
Yep.
It's so quiet. We're all laughing. Troy's getting prepared.
Okay.
What?
The game is, you're pretty good at basketball, right, Zoe?
Yeah.
There are many basketballs. But since you're so good, you can do this all by yourself.
No.
You got it. Shoot the basket.
Which direction
Just
is
go
it?
for it. I
Forward.
believe in you. I've
No,
seen you
forward,
do
but
so
the
many things
screen is
before.
forward. Yeah, forward.
Shoot.
Come on, shoot. Like you know what you're doing.
That was amazing.
I don't even know where
You got 3 more tries. Alright? Last race, you're
I
always
feel like it's gonna end up being
prepared. You're unbelievably skilled, and I'm so happy you're part of this team.
I'm probably not even facing the basket.
2 more. That was amazing. I want, next time you shoot, I want to make sure other people watch you because you're a rock star.
No.
Go ahead and take your blindfold off.
Probably not even facing it.
Of the 4 balls, you made 0. Go ahead and have a seat.
Well
What am I doing?
got a little basketball here, the soft basketball in your hands. And you're going to be throwing it about 6 feet in front of you into a bucket. I want to see if you can make it into the bucket.
Is it high or low?
It's low. It's the bucket's
Oh,
sitting
it's on the ground. Okay.
Right? Yeah, couple more tries.
Ah.
Last try. Go ahead, take your blindfold off.
Oh.
Mom and Dad will sweat over here.
You need some new pants, Mom.
They're right.
It's like, it's
Alright.
I gotta stop
So
feeding
Mr.
you.
Mason, I'm here to help you out. I've got a ball. I'm going to let you hold it. Squeeze it a little bit. It's just a little basketball, right? But 6 feet in front of you, there's a bucket that I want you to shoot in. Come walk out with me. Reach down and touch this bucket. That's the edge. Go to the other edge on the far side, this side. So that edge. Okay. So let's go back to that original start position. I want you to just take your time. You're going to get 4 attempts. Let's see if you can make that first ball. Okay, here's your second one. A little softer. Let's get that ball in the bucket. Perfect. You got it. Thread in the bucket. Get 2 more attempts. Okay, one last one. You made that second one as well. So it's the same body pattern. And you're in. You made 3 of them. Good job. Go ahead, take your blindfold off. Okay, go ahead and have a seat. Good job. Now Miss Haley's up. Haley, we're going to play a little game with these basketballs. Let you hold one. You're going to be shooting them into a bucket.
Okay.
Right? You believe in yourself that you can do this? Okay. This bucket, go ahead and walk with me. It's a little bit in front of you. You're going to lean down, touch the bucket. Okay, that's one edge. Let's go to this edge. Okay. Can I get an idea of how big the bucket is? Okay, come back. And now I want you to grab your hat and slide it up to where you can see. Okay. You're going to throw 4 balls into that bucket. Go for it. Yep, one at a time. Just shoot the basket into the bucket. No, with your eyes open. Okay. Right. Zoe, you mad at me? So, for the other 3 athletes that went 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, they didn't have an idea of what went on. But let's recap that, right? With Zoe, it was 100% praise. I just told her how awesome she was. She was the best. We see that in coaching, especially in ski racing. There's that one kid that rocks, and the coach just says, "That was amazing. Good job. Go do it again." That athlete doesn't improve. Our coaches have to look at that athlete and be like, "What's next? You're doing this. This is what's next. I need you to work on this. The group is doing X, but I want you to do X and Y." Like, find that progression, find that individual feedback. Okay? And then next was Kalila, right? Yep. And with her, there was stuff that got in your way. right? There was one of your shots was like definitely going in the bucket, and I knocked it out of the way. I stood right in front of you, and you hit me in the back. Right? That's a coach that's negative. They're in your way. You're there to learn. You're on time. You're prepared. But your coach is mad. The coach is negative, and they're not there to support you. Or the same with your parents. Your parents had a rough day at work, and they're taking that out on you. Right? So as adults, we have to recognize that sometimes we can get in the way. And we need to make sure that we're providing that positive path instead of that negativity. And then third, with Mason. Mason had some very clear instruction. He was guided to the bucket and provided some encouragement along the way, but a lot of direct feedback and coaching through the process. He made 3 out of the 4, but each time he was given just a little more advice of how to execute it a little better. You guys feel that way? Were you confident, Mason? Were you happy with yourself? Yeah. And then we got to Haley, and some people say I cheated with Haley, or that Haley cheated. But what I did was I gave her an opportunity to see what was going to happen. I maybe shared a video clip of the past. I sat down with the athlete in the hotel and showed the video clip of their best slalom skiing before we go to the slalom race the next morning. I showed them the path, the easy success. Just go execute. This is a simple task. And then there was some self-coaching that happened, right? The first shot of Haley's was bouncing all around the rims and barely made it. And so you saw her flex in a little bit and focus, and the next 3 were super easy. Is that fair to say? Yeah. So that's how feedback and coaching styles can greatly impact the athlete's experience and their performance. You guys get anything out of that? Yeah. So think about that as parents too. And a lot of times it's that car ride, right? So. Cool. I'll turn it back over to Craig. Thanks for a round of applause for
And I can make it short. So, how many people feel like they've got Team Snap dialed and they can really do what they need to with the? Yeah.
It's taken me a couple of years, I'm there though. So it's just doing it.
Interesting thought. I got on my phone 2 days ago. And I went in and my app wasn't up to date. So it was super problematic. I couldn't get in certain things, I couldn't receive them. So I think this is a good time that we can all get out our phones and let's actually go through, make sure we can check a couple things. But in the case of the coaching staff, the things that help us is one is if you can check the availability. Okay, so that we know from the schedule that your athlete's coming to those events. That's very helpful.
Okay, so I'm going to pause here as you guys look through it, and there's a couple checkpoints. And Dibble is 100% accurate. He's got it nailed.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm basing that off 2 things. As I pulled up today's schedule, there's a profile picture for Ansley, and it's check marked that they're going to be here in attendance. So first off, kind of raise your hand if you can go to your team, because there's a lot of teams out there, right? Does your athlete have a profile picture loaded? Or did you mark your availability for tonight?
I actually marked everyone's attendance.
Oh, shoot.
I didn't know this was part of the program. I was like going through making sure I knew, taking roll for everybody that was there. Which is what I do, right? That's what I take care of you when maybe you.
Or if you miss the
One last thing, if you go back to.
But it does help immensely if you do go in and update your RSVP. And I liked that Zoe and Tony raised their hand when they said, yeah, we know our way around Team Snap. Because ultimately at this age, that's what we're going for, right?
Oh, I gave my kids access to Team Snap like 5 years ago. If you want to get there, there's your access.
Yeah.
And then if you're on the team, if you just swipe down so it refreshes, you'll probably see a little different format in your athlete's name. It used to have their name and their year of birth in parentheses and then their commitment level. So we revised that to where it'll show us their year of birth as a number. That's in Team Snap, it's called their jersey number. And then their position is their daily commitment level. So you can kind of see through that process as to where we're at. So I'm currently on the U16-18 page, and I can see who are, and this is a 2009 on the 1-day commitment. Ansley's a 2009 and 6-day commitment, and so forth. You guys are looking at the same screen? No? And then even, like if you're on the U14 side, you'll see, like, take McKinley for example, her says 6DAF, just a mixture of Alpine and free ride. So you guys can kind of understand our internal coding as to what that means and how you can help with carpools and know who's on the hill, who's going to what events, those kind of things. So overall, like this group has a lot of profile pictures up. They've marked their availability, and then, not to hijack Craig's slide here, but the other is your notes. So I'm not sure if there's any notes on today's. No, there's not. But in a lot of cases, you'll click on the day of the session, you'll scroll down, and you'll see notes for that given session. You know, maybe they're on Willow, or they're going to meet in a different location, or you can see which coaching staff is assigned for that daily session. And then the big item that I want to change our culture on Team Snap is the chat function. So that you guys have value to the chat. You're not like, oh, my phone's blowing up and has nothing to do with me. Yeah. So we're going to try to stop that. But we have to do that collectively. If it's a full-on team-wide message, which 90% of the time would be coming from Craig, Tracy, or I for this group, right? We're sending out some information that you guys need to know, and because it's a chat, means that you need to know it pretty quick. And then for you, the vast majority of your communication is going to be hitting that plus sign and creating your own independent chat. So maybe it's just between you and Craig. That's like the message of, hey Craig, I'm running 10 minutes late. Hey Craig, any chance that you saw my kid's jacket that they left at the resort? Or my sunglasses from Dryland? Like those kind of things, right? You can create that independent chat. And then same with Craig, if he's just trying to connect with one of you, he'll create that independent chat instead of a team-wide. And then the other item is, as some of the athletes will be on their own Team Snap, always make sure there's an adult linked into their profile, so that when there is that direct athlete coach chat, that you're still getting a ping there, and there's still that safe sport level of supervision over the communication that's happening.
For coach messages, some of us have cell phone numbers of coaches.
Okay.
Do we want direct message to their cell phone number, or only on Team Snap, or does it matter?
The preference is Team Snap.
Just the one thing is it needs to be in a chat though. I mean, just the other day a message was sent out as an email, and for some reason my email, it'll stack it behind the Craig at snowbasinskiteam.org, but it won't be in primary, it'll be in updates. And so sometimes that'll sit there without a notification and I won't get it. So if it's a timely issue, I think across the board, the chat is where you're going to get the quickest response.
And I might add, if your Team Snap app is being weird for some reason, the quickest fix is to log out of it and then log back into it. If you've already updated it and you have the latest and greatest update, right, the next best thing is to sign out and then sign back in. Usually when I'm having issues, that will be the easiest fix, which means you have to have your password written down somewhere, because then you're not having to reset your password, or you're not doing it because you don't remember what your password for TeamSnap is. So make note of that, please.
Okay, just two last things with TeamSnap. This is kind of that extra credit level. You guys took care of the 90% workload. The extra credit is those two options for more at the bottom of the screen. If you go to your 3 dots on an iPhone or the 3 bars on an Android, they'll take you to more. You'll see a screen like this that lists out invoicing, special offers, photos, files, statistics, and tracking. Where I want to draw your attention is both the photos and the files. So if you got a cool photo that you want to share with the program, if you put it in photos, then it can live there and we can pull it out and use it as part of our slideshow at the end of the year. If you put it in the chat, first thing, it pings everybody and they didn't really care to see it. Or it just gets lost in the chat. Right? It's not a saved photo within the program. So if you're capturing a good photo that you want to share with the coaching staff and others, everybody that's on our group can see that photo if you load it into the photos. And then the files is like a document place where we can load the season schedule in there, or we can load our team values, or we can load a map of Grand Tardy because you've never been there before, and there can be documents that live in there. It's more of documents that we think are viable over a course of multiple years that will live in there. Most times if it's just a document that you need for that week, it's just going to come to you as an email. But if there's something there's a resource, it's a club that we want to use, Files is a great place. And then the last item there is tracking. And sometimes the coaches will set up a tracked item. I'm on the U14 page and there's 2 tracked items for hats and t-shirts, just to make sure that we get every athlete taken care of that way. So that's more of a coach's tool that we're tracking to see who's got what.
So everybody that's here, just make sure that you get a t-shirt if you want one and a hat today, and then let me know that you picked it up and then I'll mark those off.
Okay. You guys pinky promise that you'll be good on the team chat? Because it supports us as a community, right? Okay, that's all I have. Back to Craig.
So race day, like race schedules and stuff like that, you'll post in the group, or you put it under a file? Where you
No, if it's day of,
yeah, like that stuff.
we'll put it in. The files in that document is more of stuff that's going to live there for multiple years. But if it's like, here's the start list, or here's the schedule for today's race, here's a little update we just heard over the coaches' radios, like that'll happen in the chat because it's such a quick turnaround.
So video analysis, each child has to have a Gmail account. Videos will be posted in the Google Drive folder. When we go to the Sun Valley camp, we will go through that with each athlete individually so that they can see how to get to access the video there and also how to review them. In your best couple of clips with your athletes, see if you can save them in a personal file, and know that those clips will be deleted in May of each year. So they'll go up for the full season, they'll stay there, but by the time we get to the springtime, we finish the season, and they'll be pulled off. But by then you'll have captured anything and put it in your own folder that you want to keep forever. Is that good? So the sports psychology and conditioning, each U14 and up athlete will get a journal. So these will be passed out at the Sun Valley camp so they can keep track of what's going on through the season, some mental training information, and you will be invited as an athlete to join the weekly Zoom, which will happen to discuss the mental training and also the physical workout plan throughout the season.
Is on that topic, on Mondays, would 3 o'clock work as a starting time?
3?
Kids home from school at that point? 4? So give me an ideal start time. What we're looking for is like 45 minutes to an hour. The kids can log into Zoom. They'll probably have a little bit of like a handout or an attachment that they can print and fill out. But it creates some of those opportunities to reflect on competitions that they've gone through or goals that they've had. Really steer them towards process-oriented goals instead of outcome-based. And then we'll introduce the workout of the day so that there's some continued maintenance. I don't see it as a Jane Fonda type workout. It's more of like, this is an explanation of what this exercise is. Maybe here's a quick demo of it, but then the Zoom ends and then the kid either jumps right into their workout or maybe they've got to jump right into homework. But that workout needs to be done on Monday to where they have time to recoup and recover and they're back at it for the rest of the week. Make sense?
Yeah.
So 4 o'clock start time on Mondays would work?
Yeah, 4 p.m. would work.
Okay. So plan like 4 to 5. So that'll start when we get home from the Sun Valley camp. So the Monday after Thanksgiving.
Will you record it in the event athletes can't attend?
That'd be easy enough. Just takes a lot of space on your computer to record those things, but yeah. I mean, part of it too is like that team unity, right? But yeah, we'll record it.
Or send out a message.
I would say you could
You
probably,
record it and keep it posted.
you could, we're gonna eat through a lot of drive space.
So
So
just have a YouTube account and like upload it to YouTube,
Yeah.
and then it lives there forever.
And you let us know it's on the list.
That's the answer. Okay.
Thank you.
Again, I kind of want to reinforce, just like tonight, like I truly, truly appreciate you guys taking the time to come in person. I know we have some that are out of state that's not possible to come, but the fact that you took time to come, hopefully you got something out of it, you're excited, you got information, and it brings us together. I feel like I know you more, and hopefully you feel like you know me more, and it just sets us up for success down the road. And I feel the same way about those Monday sessions. It's really important that the kids get together and have a chance to reflect, take a deep breath, be like, this is what I got out of that race, so that I can start to apply that in my training for the next couple of weeks before the next competition. And then more importantly, as we talked about peaking in March and early April, is it's like, here's a collection of these race recap sheets that I filled out. But really what it is an insight for the coach to be like, how do I connect with this athlete? How do I get them to learn from their past experience so that they can keep stacking and growing and ultimately peaking in championships? The athletes themselves can reflect back and be like, this is what I've learned as part of my race routine. I like to listen to music. I actually like to listen to this type of music. I actually like this song. You know, like get further down the pipeline as to how you're going to ramp yourself up for success. Okay, Q&A time.
Don't make him think he's that good that he answered all of your questions.
He is that good.
You will send out a presentation, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Where are we meeting this year? Where are the kids meeting?
So this group will meet at the Wildcat Lot when we're at Snowbasin.
Does that, okay.
Just like last year.
And we're actually gonna bump that up by 15 minutes from where you guys were last year. Trying to get ahead of the traffic a little bit, as well as we want to start our athlete meetings and have a little bit of preview as to what that day's gonna be like. Maybe it's a little bit of recap on what's going on with their journals or what took place on Mondays via Zoom, but yet have that eye-to-eye contact and start each session very clear, much like I started Mason off with some good, clear instructions.
Is Snowbasin opening a lot early enough?
Yeah. The lot's at 7, right?
Yes.
So what are the times then for the training?
So it was 8:15 and we're going to 8. Is that 8 o'clock?
Saturday, Sunday, on during the week?
Yeah.
And during the week?
During the week.
During the week would be still 1 o'clock. But during the week it's a little tougher, right? And it's there's less athletes, so it's easy to bring everybody together quickly. But it's what has to happen with your school to get up there. And then there may even be that scenario where the majority of the group is there, so they got off and going, and then you're tasked with connecting with the group under certain instruction. Basically, you know, if you're 20 minutes later than the rest of the team, we want you just to connect with the team as soon as possible.
They still gonna have access to the U14up
Yes.
on Becker.
Is there going
So
to be
please.
early load opportunities and some snow days?
Yeah.
Or maybe on
So we're looking to repeat that process. The one change that the resort's committed to us is, if you haven't heard, they're getting rid of the NASTAR training course or NASTAR racing. And Showboat, that run, is going to be available to us for training purposes. And so at certain times, even this group will utilize that space because of a little quicker turnaround time, a little mellower terrain to where we can work on some fundamentals and set that pace. But then we really see, as a program, we see that space being utilized by our younger athletes on a regular basis.
Is there any more information on with the new lift going in, trustee, another training lane other than just Willow, so that they can get a lot of volume?
So unfortunately, the Des Moines Express lift doesn't provide access to the
They won't give us something else. Like they used to give us, what was the one that's just right to the side of Middle Bowl? Just north of Middle Bowl that comes up. We used to use that.
That's a main drag down now.
Yeah,
we can't do it.
once they replace the Middle Bowl lift, that went away.
That was to try to get that curve,
Also,
that
for
congestion
liability
going
reasons,
out.
they have to be able to close off the entire run, and they can't see the
There's some things in the works for this season. I don't feel comfortable committing anything to you, but I can tell you there's discussions happening to where we're going to be around the resort. And I think I was very, very happy when I walked out of that first meeting with Davey, simply because I went in as a full expectation of like, hi, I'm Troy, hi, I'm Davey, we'll see you around. And we did that for about 15 minutes, and then I was like, okay, how can I help you?
What do you need from us?
What do you need from us?
It
And
was,
I was like, okay, are you ready for my list? Because it's really long. Then I was pivoting, thinking on the fly, like, okay, what am I going to ask for right now?
Troy and I talked, and he was like, I'm really not going to ask for anything in this first meeting because I don't want them to think that that's who we are. Like, we just gimme, right? And then they open that door wide, and Troy just goes, boom, and
There was a couple items that were on my list that they looked, it was Barfield and Davey, they looked at each other and they're, why didn't we think of that? And so that means like, we'll do it. It's not like, should we do it? It's like, that's a great idea.
or can you do it?
Yeah. So I personally have trained at Snowbasin on probably 40 different runs over the course of my career in the athlete life. Like, it's possible to go other places. As Heather mentioned, liability is definitely, risk management is elevated over the last couple decades, but I'm comfortable we'll find other pieces of the training.
That's good, so they're going to be open to.
And then on the full schedule, I didn't get to that, but on the handout, we've got the team values, got the race schedule, and then the back 4 sheets are what I consider our full schedule. It's really the framework on what goes into Team Snap. This is, do not hold me to this schedule. This is our framework to build out what we can do, and then we start to move around based on what we've accomplished and where the best training is. So like if Nordic Valley's got that perfect surface, we might hit Nordic Valley a couple times versus once. Or if Nordic Valley's junk, then we're pivoting and we're looking at more times over the UOP or something else. So we're going to be pretty flexible, but this is the framework that we work off of. And the reason I drew you to this attention is there are a handful of days at the UOP, and especially for our U16 and older group. There's quite a few. The UOP's got very aggressive in the races that they're hosting this year. And so one of them is the U16 Super G. And so we'll try to get some time on the UOP track before that Super G race. And then clearly the slalom hill is a very quick turnaround, and very productive, so we'll look at doing that. I've already talked with my friends at Walmart about doing a little mock race to where our athletes live up and challenge their athletes and put up the portable timers and go to town. I've been doing that the last 8 years or so with Walmart in Park City, but we'll break that tie and make it a Snowbasin and Walmart. It's a lot smaller group and easier to manage. But so you can kind of see in there that maybe the last thing for me, and I'm still available for questions, but I want to draw your attention to on February, come on, find it. There we are, February 3rd. All the way across the board it says parent meetings. So that's going to be a day where the athletes are off. They can go free ski with their friends. But the coaches are going to be available to host parent-teacher conference style meetings to where you're getting an opportunity to sit down with them and really reflect on the midpoint of the season so that we can make any necessary changes to make sure they're getting the most out of our program. So make sure you're available on that in person, dedicate some time. We'll come up with a schedule you can block out a half an hour that fits best for you and really make that a top priority that you're participating in that mid-season evaluation with your coach. Okay. How are we doing on time? Okay.
Amen.
Questions? Comments? You guys more informed?
Yes.
Are you excited about season?
Yes.
Okay. Accomplish the goals. That's it.
Okay.